is going to be a fun one. This is going to be... I have a lot of emotions involved in this particular review, so we're going to enjoy ourselves. We're going to enjoy ourselves getting the chance to, you know, fully express that range of emotions. It's we're also going to like actually do audio balancing. It's gonna be good for the first time in my fucking life. It's great. And so it's awesome. It's just a whole thing. It's a whole time and a half trying to do this by yourself. But that's the life we live. That is the river we flow down. And it's great. It's a great time, and we're just going to adjust everything. So hopefully you can have a great time too. Because we all want to have a great time. We all want to be able to hear the video. Even if you're not wearing headphones at like max volume. Be cool. That'd be exciting. But this feels better. This feels like a good place to pause on. It's just gonna incrementally get decent. That's where we're at. Okay. So this book, what we're gonna do with this book here is I'm essentially going to run you through the plot and vent about the plot as we go. I did DNF this book, but I felt I'd been through so much. I'd experienced so much, and I put so much work into reading this book because this book is in Spanish, and I'm learning but not fluent, and I really need to stop picking up fantasy books in Spanish because that would help my head a lot. But you know, we put in work. We were emotionally invested in this, and I spent money on this, and so I feel entitled to leave a review because I stopped it because it was bad, and I feel like I'm allowed to say that. Let's get started. Oh, Principe de Sol. The world that we're in for this book is this world where it's divided in two between Aaliyah. They actually don't say the kingdom that they live in super often, but Aaliyah, sure, and and that's the Sun Kingdom. And then Aaliyah is the Moon Kingdom, and these kingdoms are separated. People amongst the kingdom can have powers dependent on, you know, that like depends on and is reflective of their respective celestial bodies, sun and moon. And you know, they're separate kingdoms. They do not like each other, harsh rules, no traveling, stuff like that. Our main character Emil is the prince today for no reason. This is not normal. Jesus. Oh, we'll try again. Emil, his mother, he's the prince. His mother disappears, and So because of that, now he is like next in line for the throne, and they start the coronation process, which means his three best female friends are constantly with him so he can pick a wife amongst them, and the other guy friend in the group is a like training to be like a royal soldier. He is like amongst that royal guard, and he's there, he is a guard, and they basically get unrestricted time together to plot to try and find his mother, which is it is creative, but it is kind of a funny, like, it's funny because it's like literally no, like, I get the logic of, oh well, these women are all like the potential wives, and then he's supposed to be a guard, but like these adults know that they're all friends and don't, no one wants to supervise, none of them trust these kids, you don't want to supervise at all, whatever. But so that's the group. We have Emile, the three girls, and Gabriel, who is the other guy. They make this plan to go out to this cabin. This cabin is owned by the royal family, but it hasn't been used in ages because there was an attack there, and so the royal family hasn't used it. But Emile's like, oh my god, if we all go there, that'll help me like pick which one I want to marry. And but the reality is the cabin is right next door to Aaliyah, and they want to go and investigate, spy, see if they can like figure out if Aaliyah had something to do with his mother's disappearance, which is like kind of the assumption, but like there's no evidence, and he still, you know, doesn't know where his mom is. At this point in time, so the kids are like hanging out, and they have like a nice fun day at the lake, because the cabin is a lake house. They have like a nice fun time at the lake, and the author like full stop killed all faith in I could ever have in these kids by like ending a chapter, or even like a part, like the book is separated into several parts, and maybe even ending the full part of the books with something along the lines of, and this was the last time Emile was ever happy. And so now I'm watching these kids making terrible decisions, and granted, they outright are not good decisions, but like it's really hard to like it's really hard to like, I don't want to say forgive them, but it's like really hard to maybe sympathize with the like some of the struggles they're going through, because I'm like now constantly aware of all of the terrible decisions they're making, and all of the like the entire trajectory of how that continues to make things worse and worse, and it just keeps coming back to like, this is your fault though. And we'll get into it. And so it's but like the author stopping to make that line really made it hard to take these kids seriously at all. Granted, again, the decisions they make are so bad that I don't know how much that impacted my ability to look at these kids, but it was still just such a like, it was, I would not have put that line there, especially like, again, since the kids never seem to understand or learn that they caused their problems, you know. Let's get into the adventures in Aaliyah. So we go there. Three of them go. God, what is her name? She's literally like a secondary main character. She has narration. I forgot all of the girls' names. That's fine. That's fine. So we go. It's Emile, Gabriel, and what is her name? Give me like 80 seconds. I thought I knew her name. The other two girls, their names really are not particularly important. They really aren't big aspects of the book. Elian. I remembered. Is her name even in? Her name is in the description, but I did remember Elian. Emile, Gabriel, and Elian go in Aaliyah, and they're in these like big cloaks to cover their whole bodies, because Sun and Moon Kingdoms typically tend to have a difference in skin color. The people of the Moon Kingdom are extremely pale, and while Elion is in fact like extremely pale to the point where people like she gets bullied in the Sun Kingdom for being so pale and looking like she could be Eladian. She could blend in. The other two boys could not. And the problem is the cloaks themselves stick out. The cloaks do not match the kind of clothing that the Eladians stick out. And so the first like people they interact with there are already like, hey, you clearly are either from the Sun Kingdom or from the like rebel island. And I'm sitting here as a black woman that grew up in a white area. It would not be me. You couldn't tell me, you could not convince me that knowing I physically unendingly stand out in the crowd, like my existence would stand out in the crowd, you're not going to convince me that on top of that, just throw on a big ass trench coat or whatever that still doesn't match what the people there wear. There, and you're still just gonna be like, oh, I wonder, I hope no one catches us. It couldn't be me. Like none of the things you're doing are helping. None of the things that you are doing are solving the problem that's happening. But again, they immediately stick out because the cloaks don't match what people in Eladia wear, and they figure, I mean, you're like, the only reason you would wear that, like, they meet a sailor, and she's like, the only reason you would wear that is if you're, like, literally from one of the, like, the kingdoms that's not supposed to be here. And then they get attacked by someone from there for asking questions about his mother's disappearance that the person finds suspicious. So they attack Emil and his friends. And the kids decide to stay. Like, the kids decide to stay in town. Again, their wardrobe sticks out and pegs them as being people that aren't from there and shouldn't be there. They're still deciding to stay whilst also having this narration. I hope we don't get caught. I hope no one recognizes us. I hope no one, like, bothers us. It couldn't be me. It just couldn't be me. Because all of the things you've described happened already, and you have made no steps, you've made no progress in doing anything that would prevent said things from happening. But they decide to say, are spotted because, again, they stick out like a sore fucking thumb, and are attacked because they stick out. That is the first time that they go to Eladia, and I was already exhausted. And again, because the author made this whole, this is like, and then Emil was never happy again thing. I'm like, my anxiety's up because I'm watching these kids make terrible decisions, and I know shit's gonna go bad, and I just have to watch it. I'm just watching. It's terrible. Before we go on and before we get into the next chunk of this madness, or the next chunk of this bullshittery, this stream is brought to you by my own blood, sweat, and tears. I also write books. God, I'd like to think they make better decisions in these books, but who knows? Who knows, honestly? We've got the Queen of Thieves series, which is a YA spy series about a girl that goes to work for the government that ruined her life. And then we have my autistic cheerleader romance, Imani and Aaliyah's Fashion Bible. This is not actually the book cover for this. This is the temporary cover, but I think temporary cover is very cute anyway. But this is about two girls that fall in love and are like learn about each other, learn about accommodation. It's very cute, very fun time. Terrible family situation, but it's great. We love it. Let me really quick, I have to add I need to add something. I forgot to add this. Okay. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that right now. It's gonna come up. It's gonna be important, but don't worry about that right this second. Okay, second trip to Aaliyah. Um, Here's the thing. Emil has a feeling, he has a gut feeling, he has the intuition to know that they should not go back. But he gets bullied into it. And at this point, I would like to make it known that Emil's entire character arc is he ready to lead the throne? Is he ready to be king? But the author has it very much focused on, is he brave enough? And quite frankly, I don't think that's the thing we should be concerned about. Because again, Emil knows he feels the gut feeling. He has that tells him that they shouldn't go back, but he lets his friend bully him into going, and I feel like that's not a good sign of a leader. So let's go. We go back to Alardia, and the people that attacked them the first time. It is a group of sailors that are working under the crown, led by this guy named Sven. They break onto his boat and find this note. Bars. And then they escape, and as they are leaving the boat, they run into... And I just like to reference again, like I said, it was absurd to me as someone dark-skinned that has lived amongst non-black people and like knows I stick out amongst non-black people. These relatively darker skinned kids go back, all 6 of them. I think it's 6. There's 3 girls. All 5 of them. All 5 of them go back in the cloaks that stick out. And I, again, could not be me. Are we gonna get caught? I hope no one recognizes us. I hope no one, like, gets suspicious of us. Of course they are, because that already happened. But again, they all go back. They steal the note. And as they're, like, leaving the boat, they're attacked by wolves. These wolves are, like, standard pets in Alardia. You know, wolf's moon. La la. And these wolves are guarding the docks, and they attack the group. And these fucking kids, refuse to use their weapons. They have fire magic that they're using, but the wolves are unbothered by the fire magic. So for the most part, because they refuse to use their weapons, because we didn't come here to kill, they are hand-to-hand fighting wolves. And like, there is genuinely no scenario in my fucking life where I would go mano Imani with a wolf while a blade is on my hip. And this is another example of terrible fucking decision making. And like, this man has no business being in charge of anything, because like, flesh wound. Nick it. You don't have to kill the fucking wolf, but you, like, your fist is going to do nothing. And they're just punching these wolves. And, like, this man, he clearly just genuinely does not understand the concept of non-fatal wounds, non-fatal injuries. And that is not a king. That is not someone that should be in charge of anyone. So again, they're fist-fighting wolves. One of them, like, latches on, bites Emil's arm, and he ends up killing the wolf. The way he ends up doing it is, as far as I was able to understand, and, like, double-checking with translations, he, like, creates almost like a fire tornado kind of thing in the wolf's skull, and it kills him. And what pisses me off about this scene is that he starts freaking out about it. Like, I haven't lost control like that in ages. I'm so scared of myself. And that's genuinely, like, the most controlled response he could have fucking had to a wolf biting his fucking arm. It was direct. It was like, precise. But again, like, it's the, like, I didn't want to kill any of them, dog. You were about to die. Can we please not act? Can we please not act? Like, that's not the issue. Like, that's not a part of the situation, is your very, very near death. Oh, okay, I'm tired, but we're not even at the, like, worst part yet. But, okay, Gavril. He, like, and this is the only reason why I fucking know this dude's name, is because for the next, like, 5 chapters, every other line is his name. But Gavril gets bit, like, on the neck and shoulder right here, bleeding profusely, and is nearly killed by this fucking wolf. They end up someone helps them get the wolves off, and they go back to the cabin, which they've been using Pegasi to, like, fly over. They get there, get to the cabin, and they're able to heal Gavril up. When they wake up in the morning, oh, I forgot to mention, because there are, like, there's guards that come with them to the cabin that are supposed to, like, somewhat be supervision, but for the most part, like, they're supposed to be supervision, but they don't really do much of anything. But they couldn't, like, have all of them sneak off without it being a problem, without the guards noticing, kind of thing. And so, in order for everyone on the group, in the team, to leave, one of the kids makes a sleeping potion that puts all the guards to sleep. And it lasts longer than expected, and these guards are asleep for, like, a day or two. Kids get back to the cabin, heal up Gavril. When they wake up, all of the guards that were still asleep because of the sleeping potion they used so they can escape to Aaliyah, they were murdered. All of them had their throats slit because they were still asleep and were completely unable to defend themselves. And this is because Sven, the boat dude Sven, who they stole from, was able to track Gavril's blood to the cabin. And this whole thing was unavoidable. It was unavoidable. Like, this didn't need to happen at all. This is 100% their fault that these people died. And Emil starts to feel guilty about it. And as, like, he's talking about it, like, these are all people that he had been a part of his personal guard his entire life. They were like family to him. Some of them were barely his age as well. But one of the fucking kids goes up to him and is like, we're all to blame. So if you take on blame, then we'll all have to take some of the blame because we're all a part of it, and then we'll get nowhere. And that's the last time they consider that a signifier of whether or not he's making good decisions. And I am so mad. Like, again, the author brought up the immense guilt and grief that Emil should feel at 12 people being murdered because of his reckless decision making, and then just threw it away. But no, that is absolutely something that should be considered, because again, he's not making good decisions. He's not doing good things. And again, all of this is for the kidnap, to try and hunt down his mother, who is kidnapped, who has gone missing. And while that is, like, I can understand the, like, need for him to do that, it is still in the face of an entire kingdom that he knows nothing about. He knows nothing about his fucking kingdom. And in the face of, like, 12 people he got killed, to dismiss that and, like, still push forward with poor planning and, like, no discussion and no strategy to try and hunt down his mother. At this point, it is extremely selfish, and again, not a good sign of a leader. Another thing to note is that, he goes back to his, they make it back to, like, the main area of their kingdom. And as they're there, he finds that there's a lot of poverty in areas of the kingdom that he doesn't go to. Fucking Princess and the Popper shit. Actually, no, Princess and the Pop Star shit. He sees that there's poverty in his kingdom that he knows nothing about. He knows in no way how to help that. Again, he doesn't know what he's doing. He is not capable at all. And again, for him to, like, ignore this put no effort into this because he's more interested in finding his mom. I understand him wanting to find his mom. That is still in, like, in terms of him being a leader of an entire fucking country, that is extremely selfish. So the note that they stole from the boat, on it, it has, on that note, there's a folk tale about an island that only appears at night, and the area in which they presume the island might be is an area in which Elion had seen Alardian ships before. She didn't mention it, Lord knows why, but she saw Alardian ships and in that area, and they're like, oh my god, that must be where my mom is. Let's go tell the kingdom's, like, high council. They go to the council, and Emil quite literally says, I'm not even going to bother trying to, like, make an explanation for how I have this information. And just literally just tells them, I know this fairy tale, this Alardian fairy tale. And it says that there is, and if this island is real, then, and it's around where this Alardian ship was seen that no one told you about until this very second, we think this is all connected. I demand we go there. Naturally, the adults in the area are like, this is a waste of fucking time. Because again, he doesn't even make up an excuse. Like, Dog didn't even say, oh my god, we think one of the people that came and killed everyone in the cabin dropped this. No, he's just like, I just know a fairy tale, and we should investigate this fairy tale. And again, when the adults are like, this is ridiculous, this is a waste of time, the kids there respond, well, isn't it suspicious that you're so sure this fairy tale isn't real? And the adults, again, shut them down and move on. Which, again, like, you should have made some form of explanation as to how you got this information. Because, like, and this is where this little sign comes up, just so we are clear. This is like the major comparison I can think of, but just so we're clear on my stances with this whole thing. But it reminds me of people that will I've known someone that with the show Once Upon a Time was super irritated that Emma Swan didn't believe in magic and fairy tales the first time she was told. And it's just like, I understand why people might hesitate to completely shift their entire understanding of existence and the universe. I understand why it might take more than just a single shove. More than just a scrap of paper that you won't tell anyone where you got it from. Like, absolutely, I'm so exhausted. And again, I've, like, to not be able to figure out how to persuade an audience beyond, like, to not understand the situation, what he's saying, and understand how what he's saying is unrealistic, and how what he's saying is going to come off to the people he's talking to. It's so, he's just bad. He is not great. Ugh. And the thing that really pissed me off and made this like a DNF is the book keeps posing this off as Emil just isn't being brave enough. And the idea of him being brave is that he blows off everything and runs off with his friends to go, again, try and find his mother. And this isn't an issue. Like, it's quite literally one of the... But, like, I'm so frustrated because reading this book made me think of this, like, debate of kids in media should be allowed to make mistakes and learn lessons and be kids. And I fully agree with that. But when the story is trying to perpetuate the idea that in spite of these mistakes, you're still like qualified to run an entire country. That's we've got like there you have to actually display him being a good ruler in any capacity for that for my suspension of disbelief to meet you there. Because again, like they're learning the wrong lesson. The issue isn't that he isn't being brave enough. He is, again, he is basically a fucking pushover the whole book. But like the idea of bravery is still this impulsive, ignorant, and selfish behavior, and that doesn't make a good ruler. Like, one of the last things Emil thinks to himself before he runs off to go with his friends is, maybe I am too young, maybe I make bad decisions, and I don't know enough to be a leader, but I'm entitled to the throne, and no one's gonna take that away from me. And frankly, that is some guillotine-worthy behavior. Like, like, the character, that line is so incredibly fucking selfish, and it's just, why, if we're talking about kids being, like, here's the thing, you can't do this. Like, kids are allowed to make decisions, learn, and be kids whilst making the end goal a very not kid thing. You know? Like, you can't say kids can be kids, but also in charge of an entire fucking nation of people that we know are impoverished and dying. Like, if you want me to be convinced that he is ready to be a good ruler, he has to make one good decision the entire fucking book, and he doesn't. At least as far as I got. I stopped like right before he left for this invisible island. But that's you have the end goal, the thing he's striving for is a very not kid thing. And so if he's going to be a kid, then you have to allow him. Like, I wish, because his uncle, Emil's uncle, is a character in this book that is essentially like the proxy leader of the country until Emil is like through coronation and whatnot. I wish that the goal for Emil had been to realize that he's just not ready, that he can be a kid and he needs time to be a kid, and he can be a king eventually, but it does not have to be now. He does not have to be the king right now. And I really wish they had gone for something like that with his uncle, where his uncle, like, maybe we find out that his uncle was being super harsh, but it was genuinely because of this entitlement that Emil had, and he was doing it for the sake of the country. And then Emil eventually realizes that he's just so caught up in his head, he is not thinking about the people. And like, maybe and then like we have them bond, and the uncle ready to like teach him more, something like that. But at the moment, it was just the insistence that he can be a kid but also have everything in the world and be in charge of everyone without like truly without giving a fuck about the consequences and how this is hurting all of the people around him. I like it's I hated this. I genuinely hated this. I think the lesson in it is terrible, and I would not want to like share this. It's just so incredibly frustrating. It was miserable to get through this and just watch these kids keep being like, oh, I'm not brave enough. No, 12 people died, and you need to stop and think about what you're doing even a little bit more, please. And it's also irritating because it feels like the idea is that he isn't brave because he is not doing the reckless and impulsive things, when I feel like it would have been like, especially given how shit turned out, it would have the brave thing would have been to stand up to his friends and say, hey, we don't know what we're doing, and we do need more capable people. And that's why he ended up going to the council in the first place. But the book is treating it like that's him giving up, and I'm so irritated. I want to hunt down books in which YA is able to like just, you don't have to do this. Like, it's okay to not be ready for these things. You can take your time. You can wait to grow up before you take on all of these responsibilities that you're not ready for. You can be a king, but you don't have to be a king right now in order to, like, be okay. Like, you don't have to do everything right now. You can take your time. I would love that fucking story. And I want that book in YA, because this just pissed me off. I hated it. I was so angry. I was excited though to like rant about this on stream. So thank you for participating with me. But that is all I have to say about this. I have a headache now. Do remember to check out my links down below for Imani and Aaliyah's Fashion Bible. This is a new adult romance, and then YA, like comedic drama, or dramatic comedy, one of those two. The Queen of Thieves series. Both are linked down below. Check everything out. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, valedictions friends. So, valedictions friends.